You're listening to the Cyberwire Network, powered by N2K.
And now, a word from our sponsor, Syntiant. As an 8A Hub Zone minority and women-owned small business company, Syntiant specializes not only in software engineering, but in artificial intelligence and cybersecurity as well. Syntiant's customers, and they retain those customers, include the U.S. Department of Defense, the intelligence community, and the Departments of State and Justice. Their mission is to protect the systems that protect the people who protect us. If you're looking for a partner in accomplishing your mission, check out Syntiant.com. That's Cinteot.com. Your partners in everything data and cybersecurity.
Hi, I'm Ted Wagner. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer at SAP National Security Services, or SAP NS2. I had general ideas about spending some time in the military and then going into business, and to some extent that's rung true in my career. I majored in economics. I was very fascinated by how the economy works, but I always had an inkling towards technology and computers. So in high school, I took computer programming. I did so in college, and my mom got an IBM PC early on back in the day, and I was always fooling around a little bit on it, and so I always had that interest. I went straight into the Army as a second lieutenant in the field artillery field of the Army. I was on active duty for about 3 years and participated in Operation Desert Storm, was with a very successful unit, and really my first experience with true professional success, surrounded by some really talented people. The problem I had, I was young and not very wise, I guess, is I felt like this was a lifestyle as opposed to a career. It was very overwhelming and encompassing. So I decided after my initial obligation was up to leave active duty. I did eventually rejoin the reserve component of the Army and served out a full career, retiring in 2018. I started with a company they allowed me to do a management training program, and I learned the components of business. And while I was in that program, I submitted all of my reports and with diagrams and the like on a computer. And that caught their eye, and they had a computer migration project, and I became involved in part of that migration, primarily training new users, but different aspects of the migration from, an IBM-based computer system to a HP server client type of network. Eventually found myself working on IT projects in the defense sector, working for different defense companies like Booz Allen Hamilton and Northrop Grumman. And at the same time, I was in the reserves. I found my way into a cybersecurity unit, and the Army was generous enough to send me to a lot of good training and participate in a lot of training within the Army. And then 2005, they said, "We really appreciate the opportunity to give you that training. Now we're going to call you to active duty and send you to Southwest Asia to monitor the network for security." So great experience. It was arduous, of course, but firsthand experience in operational organization, monitoring for world-class threats against the network. So really a great experience. I was working at the Army's CERT as a contractor for Northrop Grumman. I met a guy named Rick Howard around that time, and got a chance to work at the center of where the Army protects its network. And I did that for 9 years, I guess. And in the reserves, I had an opportunity to work up at Fort Meade for a while. And that, again, another eye-opening experience. I was just enjoying all the opportunities to support government's context, but the size and scope of protecting government networks is significant. And so I think and there are some things that are unique about how the government protects its network, which is different from the commercial sector, and provided some really unique experiences. When I became a CISO, I could no longer hang out with my geeky cyber friends all day. I had to actually go and meet with business leaders who were more concerned about profit and loss and how to make their projects successful. So I had to attune my perspective into how can I support the business in being successful. And so that was a real transition and kind of a challenge to me, but I've enjoyed it, and I've got to work with some great business leaders. But if someone says there's no professional pressure or tension between making a project go forward and making sure it meets all the security requirements, they're not being honest. That there is that tension, and you have to recognize it, communicate through it, and just work the problem. I try to be collaborative and communicative. That's really the key. I've done a lot of teaching. I've been an adjunct professor for over 10 years. I've been a guest lecturer at MIT, and having the ability to and learning the ability to translate very technical terms into more operational or business-like terms or things that people can grasp onto helps in my communication with folks who are not cyber savvy, or maybe don't have the technical underpinnings or understanding that I have. So being able to translate those very technical terms into more digestible concepts has really something that's been key, I think. The first thing, and I told this to my son, who recently got a software development job, but initially was struggling to find that first job after school. I said, get a job at the help desk, the service desk. You'll get some great opportunity to confront technical issues, do some problem solving, and they're reasonably approachable in getting hired. And then once you're in the door, you have lots of opportunities because there's always a need for folks who can contribute. The other things that I did in my career were to do a lot of self-learning, read a lot of books, attend technical classes, attain technical certifications. And the three areas I always say are really key is understanding the operating system and its architecture, the network in which these attacks are going across, so understanding network protocols, and then understanding the threat landscape and how threat actors conduct their tasks. So those are different things that I've learned. But lastly, what I would say is as much hands-on experience as you can get. And there's a multitude of ways to do that. For example, you can get a cloud, like an AWS account, for free or for a small cost, and be able to stand up servers and develop communications, network protocols, implement those protocols, and things of that nature. So I think those are all things that can really help someone who may not have all the experience, but this is a pathway to learn. I'd like to think that I was a mentor and helped folks to find their own path and help them along the way. I'm humbled by the large projects and the things I've done, particularly in the government, really contributed to national security. And to be a part of that and to know that I left some sort of legacy in my contribution would really leave me satisfied.
This episode is supported by Code Comments, an original podcast from Red Hat. Be honest, do you comment your code? You know, when you're working on a project and you leave behind a small note in the code comment, to help others learn what isn't clear in the code. Sometimes we leave comments for other people. Sometimes we leave comments for ourselves, a type of breadcrumbs. There's a lot of work required to bring a project from purchase to production, and the documentation doesn't always cover changing team dynamics. So the Code Comments podcast, which is hosted by Jamie Parker, he's a Red Hatter and an experienced engineer. In every episode, Jamie recounts the stories of experienced technologists from all across the industry who share what they've learned from implementing new technology. So if you're interested in real stories from real people going through real change, check out the Code Comments podcast. You can search for Code Comments in your podcast player. We'll also include a link in the show notes. My thanks to Code Comments for their support.